Order of operations and evaluating expressions. So you've done some of this before, and what you have learned is Pemdas. Pemdas. Now that's a handy acronym for the order to do things in, but there's parentheses that you look for first, then there's exponents, and then you multiply or you divide. Students mess this up a lot. You have to know to go left to right when you multiply and divide. And then lastly, A and S are add or subtract. And then again, when you add or subtract, you have to go left to right. So, important. Parentheses here, actually what we're talking about are grouping symbols. So grouping symbols refer to parentheses, yes, but brackets, kind of like parentheses, but they're squarish, rectangulish. Those group, but other things can group, like absolute value and square root and fraction bars. Anything that determines what has to go first. For example, if I put the square root of 6 plus 3 there, I have to add the 6 and 3 before I take the square root. The 6 and 3 are being grouped. That's a square root of 9, which ends up being 3. Same thing with a fraction bar. If I have 7 plus 1 over 2 plus 2, I have to work out the top 8 and work out the bottom 4 before I can go 8 divided by 4 is 2. So these things are being grouped because grouping symbols determine in what order things have to happen in, and they have to happen first before you can multiply, divide, etc. So in this example, this first one, you're subtracting and adding. Well, specifically subtracting. This is a positive 11. You're going to add 11 to those two numbers. And what order do I do those in? Left to right. So I start at the left and I go 11 minus 7, that's 4. And then I do 4 minus 6, and 4 minus 6, 4 is smaller than 6, so that ends up being negative 2. Next example, 5 times 4 minus 7 times 10. I have to do all my multiplying and dividing before I add and subtract. Add and subtract are at the bottom of that Pemdas. So we have to multiply and divide first. So in this case, I have to take 5 times 4, 20. I know I subtract last, so I can go ahead and do the 7 times 10, 70. And now I can do that subtraction that's last. 20 minus 70. 20 is smaller than 70. That's negative 50. Next one, 21 divided by 7 times 6. Again, when I divide and multiply, I don't multiply first. I don't divide first. I do them left to right. So because the division left to right, starting at the left and going to the right, is first, I'll do 21 divided by 7, which is 3. And now I can do that 3 times 6, and I get 18. Next example, all addition and subtraction comes after multiplying and dividing. So in this example, I have to do the multiplying first. 2 plus 8 times 6 is 48, and 2 plus 48 is 50. Here are some examples with parentheses, grouping symbols. I have to do the parentheses first, Pemdas. So in the first one, I'll do 4 plus 4, and I'll do 7 minus 3. Hey, that's 4. I have addition and multiplication. Remember, parentheses mean multiply. So I have to multiply before I add and subtract. So I'm going to go 4 plus 4 times 4 is 16. And now I can do the 4 plus 16, and I get 20. Next example, do the parentheses first again. -5 plus 9, that is 4. I'm doing the parentheses first. Now I have addition and multiplication. I've got 3 times 4, and I've got that -6 I'm going to add. I've got to do my multiplication first. This is -6 plus 3 times 4 is 12. -6 plus 12, if I'm at -6 on the number line and I move 12 to the right, I will end up at 6. Or remember, you can think of money. If I owe my friend $6 and I give them 12, they're going to give me 6 back if they're honest, because -6 and +6 make 0, and I would have 6 left. Here's one with 2 parentheses. Do the parentheses first and the addition subtraction after that. So this is the opposite of 6 minus 10. I'm going to do the 6 minus 10 because it's in the grouping symbols. Parentheses, 6 minus 10 is -4, minus 11 minus 8, doing the parentheses first, is 3. Now this is the opposite of -4, see the double negative? So that ends up being +4. And these parentheses around the 3 aren't doing anything. It's just 4 minus 3, which of course is 1. Here's some examples where we plug in numbers, but it ends up being the same thing. We have to follow the order of operations. -10 times, plug in the z is 6, 6 minus 3. I have to do Pemdas, parentheses first, -10, 6 minus 3 is 3. Now I can do that multiplication. -10 times +3. Remember that when you multiply and divide, 2 negatives make a positive. If you have 1 negative, your answer is negative. This is -30. Next one, 3w minus 8p. You have to understand that 3w is 3 times w, and that 8p is 8 times p. So this is 3 times w, which is -5, minus 8 times p, which is 7. Remember that addition subtraction comes last. I have to do all my multiplying and dividing first. 3 times -5 is -15. I have 1 negative. My answer is negative. Minus 8 times 7 is 56. I'm doing my multiplying first. I'm going to subtract last. -15 minus 56. If I owed 15, well, let's think of it this way. If I subtract 15 and then subtract 56 more, I subtracted a lot. I subtracted 71. Or if I was at -15 on the number line and I subtracted 56, I go 56 to the left. I would end up at -71. Almost forgot the negative. Last example here. This is the perimeter of a rectangle. There's a formula, and it's evaluating expressions. Follow the order of operations. So my perimeter would be 2L is 2 times L, and L is the length, 2 times 8, plus 2W, 2 times W, and W is 7. I add and subtract last, so this ends up being 2 times 8, 16. Add last, 2 times 7, 14. And 16 plus 14 ends up being 30. Here are the last 2 examples. This is the same thing though. You have to follow the order of operations and you're evaluating expressions, you're plugging in numbers. This is 3 minus n, which is -2. This is 3 minus 0. This is 3 minus 2. And 3 minus 4. I'm taking these numbers and plugging them in right here for n. 3 minus -2, that's a double negative. This ends up being 3 plus 2, which is 5. 3 minus 0 is 3. 3 minus 2 is 1. And 3 minus 4 3 is smaller than 4. That's why we get a -1 is our answer. Next table, this is going to be 2 times -2 minus 3. This will be 2 times 0 minus 3. The next one is 2 times 2 minus 3. And the last one here is 2 times 4 minus 3. So I'm taking these numbers and replacing n with those numbers, plugging in n. 2 times -2, follow the order of operations, is -4 minus 3. That ends up being -7. If you take away 4 and then take away 3 more, you've taken away 7. 2 times 0 is 0, and 0 minus 3 is -3. 2 times 2 is 4, and 4 minus 3 is 1. 2 times 4 is 8, and 8 minus 3 is 5.